The Bengals are back. Tom Brady with another comeback, a vintage comeback up against the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles are still the Eagles, and the 2022 Patriots, Ricardo, are still the 2022 Patriots. So there's really not a whole lot more to say other than this has been a pretty interesting week. What would you say, Ricardo?
Jose, I had to speed down the freeway out of work just to get here on time to do this podcast, and I'm telling you, I'm excited. Let's go do it, man. There's a lot to talk about today.
Let's hop right into it. I am Jose.
And I'm Ricardo.
Welcome back to RJ Talks, everybody. The final score, the Tennessee Titans versus the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial, 10-35. Ricardo revealed a lot of weaknesses on the Tennessee Titans end. The Titans, being arguably led by Derrick Henry more so than Ryan Tannehill, was held to 11 carries for 30 yards, Ricardo. 30 yards,
Yep.
A 2.7 average, probably his worst career-wise. So, needless to say, the Eagles are still on a hot track, even post-Thanksgiving. They are still the winningest team in the NFL, not just the NFC. And they are arguably the best team, at the very least, the best offense in the NFL. So, from the offensive standpoint, I have a lot to say, but Ricardo, from the defensive standpoint, let's start there.
Well, I mean, really got to give credit to the Philadelphia organization from top to bottom because, Jose, early on in the season, what was the weakness of this defense? They can't stop the run. So what did they do? They they got Ndamukong Suh, and I cannot remember the other run stopper that they got mid-season, but look at him now, holding Derrick Henry, who's still in his prime. He did not fall off, still in his prime, like you said, to 30 yards all game. 30 yards. Even though the Titans were falling back a little bit quickly, like they still love to run the ball with Derrick Henry. And Jose, this is really the key for the game. And to anyone who doubts this Eagles team, I have a hard time like believing that they're telling the truth. 6 sacks for today's game against Ryan. Well, not today's, but that game for Ryan Tannehill. I mean, monsters getting them at the line of scrimmage, like unbelievable pressure by the defense. And I got to be honest, Jose, I had no idea that this defense was going to have this much attitude and this much swagger going into them and holding the offense down. I mean, Darius Slay and James Bradbury, I didn't know they were going to be the duo kit, the best cornerback duo in the NFL. And that's exactly what they are. And without going too much into it, I mean, that's just what it came down to defensively. They just destroyed the Titans. And what have we said about Ryan Tannehill, Jose? He cannot lead an offense. Take away Derrick Henry, he's just that Texas A&M receiver who has an okay arm. Not a quarterback though.
Not at all, really. Now, granted, Ryan Tannehill does have moments, but then again, as we have repeated time and time again, even throughout the offseason, the Tennessee Titans run a very vanilla offensive scheme, right? Just a lot of very basic short routes, some long routes that are just as predictable as can be from 50 yards away, right? So it's very easy to stop them if you are a shutout team like the Philadelphia Eagles are. Ryan Tannehill finished the game with 14 of 22 of his passes completed, 141 yards and a single touchdown, as well as 3 carries and 34 yards. Mind you, he was also the rushing leader for this game.
Yep.
So, by 4 yards, mind you, but that's still more so than Derrick Henry, his top running back.
Well, former wide receiver. What did I just say? I mean, that's the thing. The guy's just an athlete, but he's not a quarterback.
Absolutely. And not to mention, Ricardo, the atrocious performance by the Tennessee defense. They gave up 386 yards. And 380 of those yards, Ricardo, pretty much all yards but 6, were nothing but passing yards. Nothing but passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say about this performance, Ricardo, from the defensive side? How does this happen is the better question.
It's just there's no you can go into scheme, you can go into into what's going on, but pretty much they got better players. They got better players, and AJ Brown made it his mission to do this to be his revenge game of his best game of the year. I mean, my goodness, Jose, that first touchdown that he caught, it was. He bullied the corner. He bullied the corner, and the corner fell on his butt, and he walked into the end zone. He was standing straight up into the end zone. There was no effort into this.
If I remember correctly, he ran backwards, didn't he, for a few steps?
Yes. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, Jose. That's why it's just like there's no other way around it. It's just the Eagles team has that much more talent, and the scariest part, Jose. Miles Sanders didn't have a good day running the ball. They just passed it all over the lot on the Tennessee Titans, exposing that team. Now, mind you, this is the same team that went into overtime with Kansas City. So don't tell me that this defense can't play. Like, it doesn't have some good players on it. It was not their day today. That's just the best way I can explain it. It was not their day. You got an angry A.J. Brown, and you got all the time in the world for Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce, and Lane Johnson in the offensive line. They only gave up 2 sacks. I mean, they weren't at critical moments in the game, but man, did they do their job against the Titans. It was just a rough day. That's the best way I can describe it. It was a rough day, and it led to the top 2 weapons of the Eagles having great games, very similar games, mind you, but I'll let you get into the stats a little bit here later on. But it was a great day. It was a great day for the Eagles, no doubt about it. And Jalen Hurts, he's pushing himself to be at least number 2 in the MVP conversation, in my opinion.
He's the real deal, man. He truly is. Yeah. Jalen Hurts has now set a franchise record, stats-wise. All right.
Yeah.
So Jalen Hurts is now the first player in franchise history, and this is based off of CBS. I got this straight off of the CBS's sports program. First player in franchise history to throw 350 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a single game. He's the first Eagles quarterback to do so. Now, granted, Jalen Hurts is the most mobile quarterback that the Eagles have had as of recent. Wouldn't you say, Ricardo?
Oh no, absolutely.
The most versatile as well. Yeah, rewinding back to Donovan McNabb comes to mind, right?
To be fair, Michael Vick was with the Eagles, but that wasn't prime Michael Vick. Prime Michael Vick was with the Atlanta Falcons. So that's what we mean when he's the most athletic, Eagles quarterback, drafted by the Eagles.
That's right.
So people know, not idiots.
That's right. So that's why I wanted to rewind back and mention those 2 people as well. It's worth doing so. Like you said, Ricardo, A.J. Brown had a hell of a game. And in the secondary, too, there were moments where we did see the former Tennessee Titans defense. The ones that went to overtime. The ones that went overtime against Kansas City. So what we're noticing now is A.J. Brown really coming into his own with Jalen Hurts at the helm. Right? So A.J. Brown had 8 receptions for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns this game. As you said, Ricardo, Miles Sanders did not have an exceptional game. Right, 10 carries for 24 yards, but he did have a touchdown, which is speaking to how consistent the Philadelphia Eagles are week in and week out offensively. They had a rough start at it with the defense, but now they're really starting to adjust that, and we have seen the results of this game, Ricardo. I mean, my goodness, they shut out this vanilla offense that the Tennessee Titans have decided to continue to entertain. So now the Eagles' response to that is simply to shut that out ASAP.
And throw A.J. Brown into their face. I mean, Jose, the Tennessee Titans can say whatever they want, but you and I both heard the news. A.J. Brown got that GM fired. I don't care. He got that GM fired because the owner's going to be like, why did we trade this guy again? What did we get in return? And this guy's in his prime, and we just gifted him to the Eagles. He got that GM fired. I mean, that granted, like, they don't have that much talent, but like, why fire him now? You know, like not even a week after that game.
Exactly. But as far as this game goes, Ricardo, it's pretty cut and dry. But we have to mention and we have to commend the consistency that the Philadelphia Eagles have shown since the very beginning of the season. And mid-season, they didn't wait until postseason. Mid-season, they decided to start fixing their weaknesses in the defensive line. And look what's happened. So it's almost...
Look at what competency at your executive position does for you. Pay attention, NFL teams. Jesus.
That's exactly right. So screws are loose, Ricardo. Were loose, and they decided to tighten them within the middle of the season. So it's very, very evident that at this point in time now, the Philadelphia Eagles are really, really the NFC contenders. Post-Thanksgiving even. So I think there's really no question about it, Ricardo. They have continued to show consistency on both sides of the ball. They continuously polish up their weaknesses, and they definitely play to their strengths. So that's really all that I can say about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Tennessee Titans, on the other hand, yes, they did have a strong start, but post-Thanksgiving, their weaknesses are really starting to show, and they might make a wild card run. And if they do, they aren't getting past that.
Yeah, no, they to close off this game, I do want to say we have to remember the fact people are quick to forget that there was a time where they didn't trust Jalen Hurts to be quarterbacking of this team. And look at how consistent he's been this year. I mean, it hasn't just been one or a couple games here. It's been the whole season. The whole season of him leading this team on his shoulders and leading that offense to victory to the point where he looks like a different guy, Jose. Like, he looks like he's polished himself up enough to be a good starter. Granted, like, there are moves of improvement here and there, but Eagles got their guy. Eagles have their franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, and there's no question about it. And they got their number two guys at the receiver position. So it's incredible. It really is. And they, like you said, consistency throughout the season. Jose, I'm not going out on a limb here saying they're going to be the number one seed in the NFC. No question. No question about it. The road to the Super Bowl for the NFC is going to go through Philadelphia, and it's just a matter of how they play in the playoffs. Will they fizzle out, or will they continue this stretch of dominance and consistency like you said? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Great way to close that off. And let's go ahead and move into our next game. Everybody, do not go away for that. The New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Quite the rivalry from last year, still making its way into this year. Ricardo, the Buccaneers were held to 3 points for the majority of this game, up until the fourth quarter. And the Saints offense was playing pretty average, I would say, slightly above average. And the Saints knew, at least the defense knew, that they had to step it up this game because they are going up against Tom Brady. And his Tampa Bay offense, granted, it's a weakened Tampa Bay offense being led by Tom Brady, but it's still Tom Brady, right? And the man still got it, clearly, because the end of the game was wrapped up 17-16 with a literally almost last second touchdown by Tom Brady, touchdown pass by Tom Brady. 3 seconds left on the clock. And Ryan Suckup had to make the field goal. and he did.
No, absolutely, Jose. I mean, it's just, I feel kind of weird about this game, but like I feel a little bit like nostalgic seeing this game because some people might forget, but I remember that 2013 walk-off touchdown that Tom Brady had against those same New Orleans Saints, where he threw that touchdown to Kembrell Tompkins in the corner of the end zone, where they had no timeouts. They somehow got the ball back with some time left, and he was able to score a touchdown. Touchdown was needed in order to win that game, and that's what I was going to remind you of. I'll be honest here, Jose. I did not watch the majority of this game. I was like, okay, I saw the first quarter, and I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. It's going to be like a slow, ugly win for the Saints, and this year was going to happen. So I decided to watch Wednesday and finish up that show that I was watching on Netflix. I finished the last episode. I turned back the TV on. Somehow it's 16-10. Bucks have the ball left with 20 seconds, and they're close to the end zone. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, what happened? And it's at this point with Tom Brady having the ball back in his hand, a chance to score and win this game. And Jose, I saw the first quarter, and then I saw the touchdown to win the game, and I'm just like, what the heck happened? And then I saw them explaining that there was 5 minutes left in the game, and New Orleans was still up by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm like, what happened? And then I watched the highlights. I'm like, oh my goodness. Mark Ingram started that fire when when Tampa Bay got the ball back and was able to score it quickly. And I will say this after watching this game, and I'm okay admitting this, they're not going to make a playoff run this year. They'll win a game in the first round, but it's just the time has come, man. It has the time to show that they're different and they're ready for a playoff run was last week. It was actually 2 weeks ago. But we're being nice because we love Tom Brady. But it's just not their year this year. They just got to adjust and figure out what they have to do. But I will say this. The GOAT is still getting some epic performances before he retires. And just seeing that last game-winning touchdown, but like you said, with seconds left, was incredible to see. And then Andy Dalton, to go with the Saints, did the best that he could. 20 of 28 passing. Very, very efficient with 1 touchdown. Didn't make a single turnover. There was not a single turnover made in this game. So it's just, it's incredible. It was incredible to watch for them to win out against the rival and sweep them towards the end of the year. We all love Tampa, but they're not the same. They're not going to make a playoff run this year. The offense, if the offense was half of what it was in that Super Bowl run, I could say maybe because of some explosiveness, but it's not there. It's not there, and it's time to accept who they are. And it was fun ending. It was a fun ending to a very, very ugly game.
It definitely was. Yeah, now, here's where I'm at, Ricardo. Well, actually, before I get into that, I wanted to give a big shout out to Chris Olave, sir. Yo, my guy, Chris Olave. 4 receptions for 65 yards. Now, on paper, that doesn't look very glamorous, but you watch him play. Oh man, the kid looks really good, especially in his first year. So I'm very excited to see where he goes from there. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Chris Olave. Good kid, looked great. I love it. I really do. So here's where I'm at, Ricardo. We witnessed Super Bowl 51, right? We talked about Super Bowl 51 in one of our earlier episodes. Slow news week, so we decided to just kick it back, right? Super Bowl 51, of course, that comeback was miraculous, beyond miraculous. It was a godsend for the New England Patriots that were led by Tom Brady at the time. And at the time as well, they had Rob Gronkowski, they had Julian Edelman, they had James White. Weapons all around, right? So even during this comeback, right, I was very excited to watch it. I was sitting in the break room at work, and there was 2 minutes left, right? And Tom Brady had the ball. I said, oh man, this is too much time. This is too much time to give him, right? Historically speaking, we have seen this over and over and over again where he is put in these positions where it's crunch time, right? And he has to play Mr. Clutch. And he does. He comes out on top most often, right? More often than not.
Yeah.
So, but I got to be honest with you, Ricardo. As soon as I started, because for heaven's sake, he threw the ball 54 times throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
That's so, my gosh, that's so much, right? It just doesn't seem very balanced, especially with the New Orleans Saints being just showstoppers in the secondary, right? Now their secondary, like you said, is a little weak. The defense was a little weak going into this week, but today they knew that they had to bring it, so they did, right? The fire was under their butts, so to speak. So Tom Brady leading them to the end zone and seeing that they won the game, I looked at my phone and I was just curious just to make sure that, they did, right? And I see the final score and I go, oh, nice. All right. I didn't get excited, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So, okay. It's not just me that didn't get ecstatic at the thought of that, because something within my head was starting to put it together and say, hey, you know what? Tom Brady's done. And I hate to say it, I really do, but I think he's finally reached the end. And that's not a bad thing. That's okay, right? The man is 45 going on 46 years old. He's had an amazing run. He's the best. He's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. In our time, we are never going to see a man like this again. We are never going to see a quarterback like this again. It's not going to happen. Chances are improbable, right? So it was just very just above mediocre. It was like an average reaction that I got out of this whole out of the ending of that, because I knew that they're not going to capitalize on that offensively, even defensively, right? They're not really going to capitalize on that. Like you said, Ricardo, I do agree with the statement that they are not going to be making a playoff run this year. Unfortunately, the talent in the NFC is just way above them. I mean, we just got done talking about the Eagles, right? So I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this year. I just don't. I had some hope too. I had a little bit of hope saying, hey, you know what? Maybe after Thanksgiving they'll start to pull it out, but they didn't. Unfortunately, this was at the end of the day, this was an ugly win. It was.
Yeah, no, it is, and no, I felt the same way, Jose. Like, I literally fist bump for a second, like, yeah, touchdown scored, and afterwards, like, okay, I'm good.
On to the next one.
Not like excited. Let's wrap this up. Okay, I'm good. So yeah, man, it's just, I mean, it's what we said at the beginning of the year. I mean, we could see this was the end, and it'd be great if he finished it off like winning a Super Bowl to retire, but the chances of that happening are very rare. So it's not any different. I mean, we did not think that we're going to be this mediocre on offense consistently throughout the season, but we didn't expect them to be as like great, to finish off greatly. So I agree with you there, and it's time to hang it up, Tom. I mean, we love you, but it's time to hang it up, and it's time to wait for his place in Canton. And I really want to hear him commentate and see what his insights are in the game, live reaction. So that'd be great to see.
Absolutely, that's where my mind is headed too. It's like, look, I want to hear you pick your own brain, so to speak, right, and just lay it out for us and give us all that insight. I'm very excited to hear that. I'm very excited to hear that, and I'm very excited to see him walk across the stage and witness his bust in Canton. So that'll be the day. That'll be very, very exciting. I'll call you the day it happens, Ricardo, and I'll be like, hey, it's fine. Here it is. It's finally happening. So, like Ricardo said, we love you. We love you, Tom. So we don't want to continue to see this be your final goodbye. So that's really where we're at now. Is the Buccaneers are the Buccaneers of this year. that's really all that they are going to be, unfortunately. Now, let's go ahead and move on, Ricardo. If you don't have anything else.
Just really quickly, I mean, I know, just like I called it for the Saints team, they weren't going anywhere without a quarterback. Granted, Jameis isn't playing, but still, you're at the same place. You'll be at the same place until you get a quarterback, and you'll get a high draft pick this year for sure. I'm good to move on.
All right, perfect. Now, let's move on to the next game on our list. The former Tom Brady team. Ricardo, let's just get into it.
Yep.
Oh, man. What did we get this game, Ricardo? What was familiar from last week going into this week? Oh, you know what? I'll just tell you. Another Mac Jones outburst on the sideline saying, throw the effing ball, the run game sucks. And it certainly did. It wasn't doing anything. Ricardo. I am so upset with my team right now. I can't even put into words.
You go, dude. You go. I am here with my popcorn, waiting to hear your thoughts. This is your time. Go.
My goodness. Okay. For starters, Ricardo, there was not a single receiver for the New England Patriots that had over 51 yards. Not a single receiver that had over 51 yards catching the dang football. Okay? The top the receiving yards leader was, or just the receiving stats leader, was Marcus Jones for 2 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. I looked up this guy because admittedly, I don't even know who this person is. Right? Admittedly,
I plays defense.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like I admittedly I didn't know who this guy was, so I go, okay, let me go on to ESPN, and then I'm gonna look. I'm like, I've never seen this guy before. So I click on his name on ESPN. He's a freaking cornerback. The guy is a freaking cornerback. What the actual hell is going on right now, Ricardo? I don't get it. And on top of that, too, in the second half, right, the New England Patriots could not get across the line of scrimmage seemingly ever rushing the ball, right? Mac Jones had an okay game, 22 of 36, 195 yards, and a single touchdown, right? Pretty average from what we've seen of him. And he's over it. He's over it. And I'm over it. You know what I'm talking? You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, one shining light in this game is a shining light that we have seen over and over again, Ricardo. Matt Judon. Matt Judon's a beast. We already know this. This isn't brand new information, right? Matt Judon, he picked up a fumble by Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen actually just went after him too, and he tried tackling him down. There must have been like 5 or 6 offensive linemen around Matt Judon trying to strip the ball away and trying to tackle him, and he broke every single one of them out and was ready to run towards their end zone until the referee just called the play, right? Like it was done, you know. So I just, my goodness, man. That was really the only thing that I could really say about my own team, is that they were solid. I mean, Josh Uke, I believe is his name, his last name. Mm-hmm. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. He had 6 solo tackles as well as 2 sacks on Josh Allen. All right, so good on him. He was able to sack Josh Allen twice. That's amazing. Again, no new information. The defense is good. Amazing. Really. It's almost like we have a defensive-minded head coach. as well as our defensive coordinator who has worked with us for years in Matt Patricia. And we have continued to stop good offenses, right? Stop good offenses. And for those of you listening, I'm putting up air quotes right now, okay? Reason why I'm putting up air quotes right now is because the Bills were still able to get 24 points on us. This game ended 24-10. The Bills coming away with the win, right? So I'm just over it. I'm over it, Ricardo. Yeah, it's like I'd feel better if I didn't continue to talk about my own team and how bad my own team is week in and week out. The AFC East, we might as well be on the bottom of if we aren't already. I haven't checked the division standings, but we might as well be at the bottom of the division if we aren't already. Okay, 6 of 6.
I believe the Jets are ahead, so you are in fourth place right now.
Amazing, that's good. I think we deserve to be there. Quite honestly, I think we're done. We're done.
Just to add a little bit of gasoline onto your fire, just a smidge. I saw this on Twitter today, and I think you'd like hearing this.
Yeah,
the Patriots beat writer Zach Cox tweeted this after he interviewed Cardinals defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. So the Cardinals are playing the Patriots this week coming up, and they asking him some questions. And Vance Joseph's quote that Zach Cox got, it's a very conservative pass game. It's like a defensive guy's calling offense. When he's talking about the Patriots offense, when the Matt Patricia-led offense, like, it's a very conservative pass game. I wonder why.
If there even is one. If there even is a passing game. That's the point exactly. If there even is a passing game, it's a very conservative one, right? They're in the running with Tennessee for being as vanilla as they are, right? For being as basic as they are. So, this just needs to stop. This needs to stop. It really does.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into the Bills in just a second, just to show some of the good things that they did, because there were some good things that they did on their end as well.
Oh, incredible! Yeah.
But to stay on this topic about the Patriots' failure as far as how this season is looking, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like we said this before we recorded. Who could have predicted this? Oh wait, we did before the season even started. Who could have predicted that this would affect Mac Jones? Oh, we did. And who could have predicted that said that the hiring of a defensive coordinator as the OC offensive coordinator and the special teams coach on the staff who destroyed a team that's looking a hell of a lot more better without him. We'll get into that game in just a minute. As far as, I'm sorry, Joe Judge was with the Giants, not the Jets. That's my bad. But either way, it was still awful. So my point being is that this experiment of offense by committee, is done. It is 100% done. It is tearing the team apart, and it won't be long before that Patriots defense gets frustrated and they can't play to the same level that they can because they're just being held out by the anemic, pathetic offense that's uninspiring. I mean, Jose, you and I could call better plays or could come up with some better pass concepts against against some teams. My goodness, man.
On Madden. Yeah.
When your best play is a bubble screen to your cornerback who outruns everybody to score a touchdown, that's not a good thing. That just means you got lucky for that one play. So really, this game could have been 24-3 if the Buffalo Bills tackled Marcus Jones on that play. But no, it was just anemic, pathetic offense. I mean, what are we talking about? Nelson Aguilar as your leading receiver. Devontae Parker, I said he's an okay 2, but he's more of a 3. Jacoby Myers still on there. I mean, Jesus. Ramondre Stevenson, Jose, is becoming one of your leading receivers out of the backfield because, I mean, they're just filling up the box when he's trying to run the ball, so might as well just try to get him some easy yards outside, and he's the only guy who'll catch the ball. I mean...
No. He's the only one that will... I mean, okay, it's a big assignment, right? It's a big assignment for the ball to hit your hands and be able to hold on to it. Now, am I saying that I could do this job any better? No, I can't. But I'm not a professional football player.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm not a professional football player. I'm not expected to be doing these things. They are, right? Presumably, they've been playing football since, well, since they were in junior high, right? Maybe even early high school, right? Early high school at the like freshman year at, the earliest, right? So, needless to say, these people are expected to have one job, two, even if you wanted to divide it up. They're expected to catch the ball and they're expected to hold on to it, right? Every single time a Patriots receiver catches the ball, I get nervous. My body physically tightens up because I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on to it. And then one person drops the ball, and then Nelson Aguilar, the hero. Oh my God, this guy's my favorite, Ricardo. You already know this. Yeah, Nelson Aguilar, my absolute favorite player in the NFL right now, throws himself onto the ball as the ball is fumbled. All right, hero, absolute hero. My goodness. So anyway.
Let's go a little bit into the Bills.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's
bash the Patriots. But I'll just say, Jose, welcome to my world. And there's nothing to do but just laugh it off and wait till your team does better stuff. So
there's always next year.
There's always that's the thing. There's always next year unless they don't make any changes. But anyways. Let's get to the Bills because I did see some good things, and this was a key win for them, Jose, because they're now with the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. They're in first place in the AFC, and they're going to need home field advantage if they want to become the team that everyone expects them to be. But I will say this, and I'm very, very impressed by this. They ran the ball 37 times to only throwing it 33 times.
Yep.
I mean, this is the second week in a row, Jose, where I see more balance from this Buffalo Bills team where they run the ball more effectively, and they're doing it. And they're doing it with the duo that you and I were waiting to see if they would do it with James Cook, the rookie out of Georgia, and with Devin Singletary, their main bread and butter, who's been there all these years. Granted, Josh Allen always gets his yards, but this was a game where Josh Allen wasn't the leading rusher, and that's what you want. That's what you want as a team. And this is what's getting me excited about this Buffalo Bills team is that they're not afraid to punch people in the mouth and run the ball when they have to. And you're going to have to at some point. There's some days where it's not going to be pretty. Granted, Josh Allen had a good game, 22 of 33 passing, 233 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But I love that they ran the ball more than they passed it because they didn't have to pass the ball more because they were able to run it. They were able to run it and just get key play action, easy plays for Josh Allen so he doesn't have to play superhero every time. Or he doesn't have to be Homelander, depending what you watch. That's his call out to the voice if anybody watches this. If anybody watches the show who's listening to us. But my point is that I'm very excited seeing this as this was a great response to them after they lost the key to their defense. I mean, let's get into it, man. I mean, we both heard the news earlier today. Von Miller officially out for the year, getting ACL surgery, trying to see what he'll do better. I mean, a huge loss as far as being the leader of that defense. But I will say this. I mean, the defense certainly has some... They certainly have some motivation off of Von Miller, and it's very, very good to see them just still playing as hard as they can. Tre'Davious White is back into the game, and he didn't have his best game, but he is looking more and more like that All-Pro corner that we expected him to see last time. So Bill's team is looking good. And a great way for them to be a first overall seed. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Bills, Jose?
Absolutely. The Bills are phenomenal, man. Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really, really loving it. Josh Allen throwing 22 for 33, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs is still an absolute beast on the end of that. So Stephon Diggs, 7 receptions for 92 yards and a single touchdown. Just another Thursday. Just another Thursday night for him. Another Sunday or Monday night, depending on what day he's playing. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that's the duo. That's the duo, man. So they are definitely the favorite for me as far as the AFC goes. The favorite for me at this point in time in the NFC are the Eagles. So we'll see if it ends up being an Eagles versus Bills game at the Super Bowl. Because, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, I do not believe that the Kansas City Chiefs will make it to the Super Bowl, especially with the Bills being up against them. Now, they're probably going to make a conference run, but again, I don't want... I'm moving a little too far ahead.
Too much later. We'll get into it right here in a bit.
Absolutely. But the Buffalo Bills are just they're phenomenal, and they're taking steps to win the game. They're doing whatever they possibly can. A great example of this, and a very good moment that I did want to bring up for this game, Ricardo, was two moments actually. Josh Allen's pass to Nyheim Hines. This shot put pass that he had with pressure coming his way, mind you, right? So that was very, very exciting to watch. And it was a 3rd and 11 play, so it was a very crucial one in order to get the first down, right? And in the first quarter, this was what Josh Allen had pulled, right? And we have seen this time and time again where Josh Allen is willing to do whatever it takes to just simply get the first down, let alone the game winning, let alone winning the game, right? That was the first moment. The second moment I wanted to mention too is Josh Allen being pressured because, like I said, the New England Patriots defense, especially the defensive line, is very good. Very good. There's no question about that, right? Because they're being led by two defensive gurus, right? So Josh Allen's touchdown pass to Gabe Davis after breaking a tackle on the run. So Josh Allen is their guy. Much like how Jalen Hurts is the Philadelphia Eagles guy. It's just very exciting to watch the Buffalo Bills every single week play the games that they do. They're fantastic. I mean, there's really not a whole lot more to say about it. They have shown consistency week in and week out.
Really quickly on that magnificent play that you mentioned, he was also mid-air going out of bounds when he threw that pass to Gabe Davis. So just a little added sprinkles to that cupcake of a play. It was incredible to watch.
Yes, absolutely. All in all, to wrap this up, Ricardo, the Patriots, I'm not sure if they're even going to make a wild card run. It's uncertain to me right now because every single week they either play just above mediocre or they don't play well at all, like they did this game. So I think up against the lesser talented teams they can do very well, right? And that's where I'm at with the Patriots. But against elite talent like the Buffalo Bills, they get shut out like this. So the New England Patriots, if they continue to play against these teams with lesser potential to make the playoffs, they'll be fine. They'll be fine going into the wild card round, but they will not get past that. I don't think they will get past the wild card round at all. And the Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl bound. That's really where that's really how I'm calling it right now. And, of course, it's going to be a very close game against them and the Kansas City Chiefs going into the postseason. Because I do believe, if all goes well, I do believe that the two of them will make it to the conference championship. They will duke it out there.
Let's talk about the AFC East team who is actually making great strides to be a good team in the future direction because, my goodness, man, I watched that game from start to finish, and I'm excited. Let's talk about the Vikings and the Jets.
Let's move on to that. Ricardo, who would have thought that the New York Jets would look this good this year?
Not me.
The defense specifically. You let me go on my rant the last game, Ricardo. And this game was very heavy on the defensive side with the Jets. The Vikings, a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the ball. But Ricardo, defensively speaking, how do the New York Jets look from your point of view?
No fear. Simple. No fear on that side of the ball. No fear. They're not afraid of anybody. I mean, you got Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and then TJ Hawkinson and Dalvin Cook on the other side of that football. I mean, this Vikings team should have scored a lot of points on it if they're the same old Jets. But there was no fear. There was a key play in the moment, Jose, where I saw New York's Jets defense where Justin Jefferson makes a catch on a third down conversion, but Jordan Whitehead still lays him out completely. Now, Justin Jefferson holds on to the ball, but he gets up and he gets the first down. But that shows some swagger and some aggression and some confidence for this young New York Jets team, and I loved it. Yeah, they got penalized for it, like they said it was a roughing the defensive player, but that showed to me that they have no fear who they play, and they are going to come head hunting. Jordan Whitehead had the most tackles in this game, and he pops off the screen every time he tries to hit someone hard because he nails it, man. CJ Mosley, I mean, he had a rough start in his career to Baltimore, but he's the leader of that New York Jets defense at the middle linebacker position. I mean, what can we talk about more about our guy, Sauce Gardner? I mean, Rookie of the Year candidate, top 2 at least. That guy had no fear going up against Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson got a little bit better of him on that day today, but man, my goodness, our guy Sauce Gardner had a great game and is having an incredible season, and he's just a rookie. They have found their top corner, the New York Jets did, and this guy Sauce Gardner. I mean, this defense, they gave up some key plays. They gave up some early plays as far as the Minnesota Vikings scoring points. The Minnesota Vikings scored 20 points in the first half. They scored 17 in the second quarter alone. They only scored another 7 points the rest of the game. They held them scoreless in the third quarter. They had a great second half. They had some great adjustments, and this just goes to my point. That Robert Saleh is a good coach, because you and I both know that this is his baby. He built his teeth on defense. He was that 49ers defensive coordinator that year they went to the Super Bowl. It was great to watch, man. It was great to watch because they played some combos of zone and man coverage. For people that don't know, is that you don't necessarily just have to play man or zone when you're playing defense. Man meaning that you have one guy on the field that you're responsible for, and you follow him like you're white on rice. So zone means you're just responsible for a certain part of the field, but I love when defensive coordinators switch it up. They switch it up to having a zone/man defense, and it was great to watch, man. I saw a lot of intense tackling, and I will say this. The New York Jets, they failed to score a touchdown on one of the later drives in the game. And that defense, Jose, held them to a 3-and-out. And it was a great stand by that New York Jets defense. You know why? Which is what we're going to get here to. The main thing, they believe in their quarterback. They actually have a quarterback who has some moxie in him and is not afraid to take chances. And I maintain that those 2 interceptions that he threw were not his fault. They came off of the Jets' hands. He threw it to the Jets players, and they came off of their hands, and they should have won this game, Jose. If Braxton Berrios at the goal line holds on to the football that Mike White zipped in there between the 2 Vikings defenders, we're having a different conversation here about who the Jets quarterback and who the future is going to be, because my goodness, it was a great game to watch, and I'll let you get into the offensive side, but I just had to go on that rant on defense, man. I'm so happy that this defense is playing hard for Robert Saleh and showing that he was not the reason that they weren't winning in New York.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I had a very good time watching Mike White play for the New York Jets this game. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It was about time that they put Zach Wilson away, and they brought Mike White out. Now, those 2 interceptions, of course, were not entirely his fault, right? Or not his fault at all, really. So I maintain that as well. Garrett Wilson. Let's talk about Garrett Wilson, right? Another receiver that was picked up at the same time as Chris Olave. We mentioned Chris Olave earlier, and Garrett Wilson was number 1 on the list. whereas Chris Olave was number 2, not on our list, but on the NFL's list. All right. Mm-hmm. Garrett Wilson had 8 of 15 receptions for 162 yards. The man was all over the field. I remember a pass in particular where he pretty much took most of that space in front of him. He ran straight down and pretty much almost made it to the end zone. Mm-hmm. He was all over the place, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. Another person that I really wanted to give a big shout out to was Greg Zuerlein, the New York Jets kicker.
Right the leg.
That's right. He was the top scorer. He was the top scorer of this game. 5 for 5 field goals made, a 60-yard longest kick, right? And he had 16 points scored for this game. Needless to say, Ricardo, the New York Jets are looking solid. They really are. And they finally have a quarterback with some cojones. So, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I know I shouldn't be, but I am excited for this divisional rival, right? If I can even call them that. Because going up against the Jets at this point in time for the Patriots is just going to be, hopeless. So, the New York Jets are playing fearlessly and aggressively. There were many moments where I had to sit back in my seat, Ricardo, while I was watching the highlights and go, "Oh, wow. They're really going for it.
Yep.
They're really going for it." Justin Jefferson, who's part of the MVP conversation, right? Or at least the Offensive Player of the Year conversation, right? At the very least.
Yeah.
Was held to 7 receptions out of 11 targets, 45 yards, and a single touchdown. 45 yards. He was held to 45 yards. Yeah. The top, and he was the leading receiver for that game as far as stats go, right? Jalen Reagor, excuse me. Jalen Reagor was second, and Adam Thielen was at the bottom of that, right? And even Adam Thielen, 2 of 6 receptions. He has six targets, and he had 2 of those made for 27 yards. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, the dynamic receiving duo, were held to that many yards, not even 100 combined. So needless to say, Ricardo, the New York Jets, they're not messing around. And I am very excited to see how they continue on in their season. Now, here's the next question. What do you think, Ricardo? Do you think that they're going to be making the playoffs this year?
I think they'll make a push for that final wild card spot, and it's going to take some key wins down the stretch here, specifically some divisional games that they're going to have upcoming here. It'll be close, but I'll say this: they are definitely going to finish above 500. I mean, I can see this team going 10-7 at the very minimum, 10-7, if not 11-6. And my God, that is a huge step up. I mean, they were the second or third pick of the draft last year. Talk about a turnaround for this team. If they make the playoffs, Jose, it is going to be very hard to decide if Brian Daboll or Robert Saleh should be Coach of the Year, because these are 2 different teams that we saw last year. I mean, night and day, and it's just you and I when we saw the draft together, we're like, man, this is a very exciting future for the New York Jets. Like, it's potential. It's a young team, but it's incredible potential. Potential's coming a little sooner than we both thought. A lot sooner than we both thought.
Because I remember sitting there, and you and I were reacting to the draft, and we saw how many just all-stars they were picking up, right? Coming out of the draft. So, but we were still pretty hesitant. We go, "Oh, okay. All right, they're, like you said, they're young. They're young. So we'll see how it goes." Right? We were still a little skeptical about it simply because they're young players. We don't know how they're going to be adjusting to the professional league. Holy crap. We didn't think it was going to come. We didn't think that the potential would come this fast. as you said. And I'm just reiterating at this point.
Yeah, at the very least, I say the GM for the Jets should be executive of the year. No question. No question. Every single pickup they have done has been money. Right on the money on there. Now, here's what's going to be curious, Jose, because I want to see them try to move on from Zach Wilson, because we both know he's done. I mean, you can't win with that kind of attitude. You can't. So I'm hoping that the owner has the presence of mind to say, okay, look, you whiffed on that pick for quarterback, but you nailed almost the rest of the team.
Three others.
Yeah.
Wilson, Gardner, and remind me of the defensive line's name. Jermaine Johnson. That's correct. Yeah. So those three guys, like, yeah, you had a bad call on one, but you gave me back three.
And you pick up Jordan Whitehead from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to add to your secondary, who is he is a headhunter for that defense. I mean, every tackle I see him, he goes full force. You got C.J. Uzomah from the Cincinnati Bengals, who's a reliable safety target for Mike White. I mean, it's very exciting for this team because it's coming a lot more sooner than we thought. And I'll say this, Jose, when I saw Mike White passing the ball and these completions being done, they had to be exactly on target. They had to be target. Most of those third down completions, you saw the defender going one way, the receiver going another, and you're like, where'd the ball go? And you barely saw the ball caught by the receiver. You're like, oh my goodness. And I maintain they should have won that game because he threw the game-winning touchdown pass that Braxton Berrios should have caught. For the New York Jets,
he absolutely should have caught that. And if he had caught that, we would have had a slightly different conversation about the New York Jets and how effective they are.
Yeah, and to play, Jose, people don't understand how hard it is to play that way on the road. On the road for a young team. I mean,
especially a new quarterback at this point.
Yeah. Against that hostile environment in Minnesota, like inside that stadium, like it gets very, very loud and very, very hard for your offense to communicate and do all that. I mean, I could go on and on about the New York Jets, but I'll finish off with these two things. They show two things. One, they're a good team that's ready to take steps forward. They just need the right leader to do it. And will Mike White be their quarterback of the future? He still has some stuff to prove to me to show that he will be their guy. But he's making great steps in the right direction. And number two, it shows that there's weapons on that team. And if Zach Wilson was that franchise guy, Garrett Wilson would be in the running for Rookie of the Year if he had a quarterback who could get him the ball. Because it can't just be a phenomenon that Mike White is able to get him the ball, make him look like a number one receiver that you and I predicted he could be.
That stuff doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah. It does not just happen out of nowhere. Now, for the Vikings, I mean, what else is there to say? Kirk Cousins threw 173 passing yards for a touchdown. I mean, their offense was pretty contained. It's showing their weaknesses, definitely. And I still see the Vikings as a one game and out playoff team. That's why I see them. Yes, they're 10-2, but they're not showing anything impressive to me. All it takes. Here's the thing, Jose. The Jets were in the red zone a bunch of times, and only once they scored a touchdown. The other one was the turnover on downs, but they kicked a bunch of field goals. Had the Jets scored a couple touchdowns off of those 5 field goals that Greg Zuerlein, 4 because one was a 60-yarder. Had they scored a couple touchdowns on those 4 field goals, it's a different game. It's the Jets win, and they win by like a couple of points here. So it shows me the potential and the excitement of the Jets, and it shows the detriment of this Vikings team that you and I both agree this is not a playoff. This is not a good contender team. It's just not. And until they get rid of Kirk Cousins, no one can convince me different. That's how I feel.
I'm pretty much right on track with you as well. Kirk Cousins he's not their guy. He really isn't. And for him to be surrounded by the weapons, imagine if you were to take those weapons out. How would he look beyond that? I don't think he would be the same quarterback. I really don't. And also, the defense, holy crap. I mean, there's a lot to be desired there as well. So the Minnesota Vikings, I do agree that they will be a one-and-off playoff team simply because their weaknesses are just too abundant. There are too many of them. And they are placed in crucial areas, such as the quarterback position, the leader of your team. So, as far as the Vikings go, the Vikings look great. Their record looks great on paper. On paper, they look great. But in practice, they're not going to get past that. They're not going to get past that first round, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. The New York Jets, however, next year, oh man, I can't wait to see what they look like next year. And the years to come. Let's go ahead and move on, Ricardo, to the game that we absolutely have to talk about. Off the mic, Ricardo is ecstatic to talk about this one. Let's not waste any more time. The Cincinnati Bengals, Ricardo. They're back. They're back up against elite talent in the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we get into it, and I know how excited you are, Ricardo. I can see your hand shaking from here. All right? The Kansas City Chiefs are great. They're great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Patrick Mahomes is the second coming in the quarterback position, as well as Josh Allen, as well as Jalen Hurts. But focusing on Patrick Mahomes is, if he continues to play this way year after year after year, which I do continue to see him that way, personally, he's going to be the second coming of that quarterback. Not necessarily Tom Brady, but he'll be the face of the NFL in that position.
Yep.
However, and I was sitting next to a coworker who is a big Kansas City Chiefs fan at work, and he was a little doubtful of his team, right? And I said, look, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're a solid team. And they look, and offensively, because we were watching the game, offensively, they look like they're just better, right? To be frank with you, they just look like they're better. But if your defense shows up, they can stop them. They might be able to stop them. That is the glaring weakness of this Kansas City Chiefs team, Ricardo. Is their defense. Their defense is too inconsistent. And you can add a lot more to this as well. But the offense, we know what we're going to get. Week in and week out on the offensive side of the Kansas City Chiefs. We know what we're going to be getting week in and week out on that in that regard.
Yeah.
The defense, however, I have no idea which team is going to show up. And that's the problem. And that is the reason why I'm putting the Bills up against them. Because the Bills are much more consistent defensively than the Kansas City Chiefs are. And that is why I am saying that the Bills are going to be heading to the Super Bowl in the American Football Conference. So, needless to say, the Chiefs are solid. The Bengals looked phenomenal this game. They looked, oh man, it was exciting. It was exciting to watch them. The Bengals, we all know that the glaring weakness of the Cincinnati Bengals is their offensive line, right? Has been since last year, right? Hell.
Couldn't tell this last game.
What was that?
I couldn't tell from this last game.
That's exactly what I was about to get into, Ricardo. The Bengals offensive line only allowed 5 hurries. 5 hurries throughout the entire game. So, for those of you listening at home, if you are new to football, hurries, when we say that, we mean just the defensive line breaking through the offensive line and getting to the quarterback, or at least just pressuring the quarterback, right? They only allowed 5 times. They only allowed that 5 times throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I mean, While we're on the topic of defensive line, I'll start there, but I'm excited to talk about what the defense did to necessarily make the key plays to slow down Mahomes and that KC offense. But let me just get right into it, man. They smacked around the Chiefs' front seven. It was no question about it. Like, I saw their backup tight end perform a wham block against Chris Jones and hit him hard to have Samaje Perine have a good whole run of the football. To people who don't know what a wham block is pretty much a play where one of the defenders, one of the D linemen on the inside is allowed to come in free, but another offensive player comes in and hits him from the side to block. So side blocking. So it's kind of a trick play to like where the point to think that so the defender thinks they have a free shot, but really they're just creating a big hole behind them because they're going to push them out of the way so their player has a chance to go deep. Jose, this offensive line was kicking their ass. I mean, it's just that plain and simple. This offensive line is finally showing their potential on the field that we all thought they would when they did all of these signings. When they signed Lyle Collins, when they got Alex Karras as far as for the center, when they got Marpet on the guard position. I mean, it's coming together. And I'm going to go back, Jose, to that Miami game. Because that Miami game, they started to show some presence running the football because they started to show some aggressiveness and some edge to them as far as going down. Jose, they ran the ball 34 times against this Kansas City defense, got 152 yards rushing against them, and Joe Mixon was on the sideline. I don't think people understand how much of a feat that is against a contender, against the favorite that the Kansas City team was looking. So Samaje Perine is great. He's but he's emerged, Jose, to that combo, that 1-2 duel that they're going to need at the running back position in the playoffs with Mixon and Perine. And Jose, they were pushing him out of the way. And they stayed balanced. And people might go to Joe Burrow and the receivers for passing the ball, like we just mentioned, but they ran the ball more than they passed it. They ran the ball 34 times, they passed it 31 times. That just shows again and again what we say on this podcast is that balance is what wins in this league. It was a 3-point win, but they were balanced throughout the game and they made the necessary plays to go against them. And I haven't even mentioned this, Jose. A hobbled Jamar Chase got 97 yards on them. A hobbled Jamar Chase. And this goes back to what we discussed about, because you and I mentioned this right after the game was over as far as the KC defense. I said, Steve Spagnuolo is so stubborn to not play man coverage throughout the whole game. And that's what you're going to get when you have these young defenders. Remember when we talked about KC? They got these young defenders. They got Trent McDuffie. They got Ladarius Sneed. They got Willie Gay, Thornhill, all these key secondary guys. And the guy who was running his mouth before this game started, Justin Reed, got his butt handed to him multiple times all throughout the game. Samaje Perine literally gave him the business. He stiff-armed him nasty on one of his runs. And Justin Reed just gave the Bengals all that in 2 times, right?
Second week in a row where Samaje Perine had a solid stiff arm play like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He's like a lion hunting a gazelle. It's insane. It's crazy watching this guy play. Like you said, Joe Mixon is on the sideline, unfortunately, but Samaje Perine, dude, he is carrying that back. He is carrying the running back position. But, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go right ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. You're making my point for me. How many teams can have a backup running back that looks as good as this, as a backup?
Let alone aggressive. Like, skill aside, primal instinct. That's really what it is.
He's got that feel. He's got that feel in the middle of the game. He knows exactly what to do. He knows how to cut. He knows how to hit. And he knows when he can push someone off and go down. I mean, it's just incredible to watch. And I got to say this, Jose, a key moment in the game for me, people might forget this. But when Patrick Mahomes did his Air Jordan impersonation on the sideline, it was great. It was incredible. It was athletic to watch. It was unbelievable. The very next drive, when the Bengals get the football, what do? They run a read option, and Joe Burrow runs for 16 yards down the Kansas City defense, running the ball. Joe Burrow. This isn't college. This is the NFL. And Joe Burrow running a read option, keeping the ball, and going inside the middle of the Kansas City defense and getting a nice 16-yard gash on them.
Ooh.
That's just, yeah. And I'm very excited, as people can tell. But if this keeps going the way I think it's going, and this is a big if, this is the potential to be the next Brady Manning rivalry in the AFC, because we already have some history, and we have some playoff history as well, because we got the next guy, the MVP, the guy who's going to rule the league and whatnot. Then you got some guy who's like, okay, he's playing there. Granted, he had a lot more success than Brady, but like he was whatever. Like he's all right. But when it comes time to play those big games against that rival, he shows up. He shows up big time, and he makes the right plays to do this game. Jose, he should have had 3 touchdown passes, because Tyler Boyd dropped a dummy. You and I could have caught that touchdown. He dropped a dummy in one of those touchdowns when they were still trailing against the Chiefs. They were still trailing against the Chiefs, and it was just it got me excited, because first of all, I got to give a shout out to Mitchell Wilcox, who made an incredible 2 key plays. He made a catch for a first down on 3rd down, and he made that wham block on there. Now I hope Jose Hayden Hurst is okay. I hope Hayden Hurst is okay, because I love him as a tight end. He's a very good one. Like, he's a solid top 12, top 15 tight end in this league. I could make the argument for he's a good, reliable safety target on there. But a hobbled Jamar Chase got 97 yards of him. Tyler Boyd was making play after play against him. T. Higgins caught some key passes, and Samaje Perine catching some passes as well out of the backfield, making key plays. He's looking like their MVP. When Jamar Chase was gone, Samaje Perine is the guy who was leading them during that stretch.
Oh, yeah.
He's showing like the guy he's not afraid, and it's going to be very important playoff time for him to show his worth on there. I could keep talking about the offense, but it's just that defense, man. They just know how to play against Mahomes, and they don't stick to one game plan, Jose, about the Cincinnati defense. This is what I love about them. They play some deep zones sometimes, where they have some 4-man pressure, your basic deep zone coverage that everybody runs against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they mix it up and they blitz Mahomes. They do some combo zone blitzes coming out of the backfield. They have Jesse Bates coming out of there, Logan Wilson sometimes trying to come in. But I feel like the magic formula that they got against Mahomes, and this is a very special defense, and I don't know why nobody else does it, but it looks like Cincinnati's the one who does it. They run a 3-man pass rush, but they keep a QB spy right underneath. They run. It's a 3-and-1 pass rush. They run a contained 3-man pass rush, but they get a QB spy on there because Mahomes is just so athletic. I mean, it's no denying it. He's a great runner of the football. So they run and the key plays of the game, you'll notice, was in those highlights if you didn't see them. It's a 3-man pass rush with a QB spy right underneath it, and they run some man coverage and some zone on there. But it's that 3-and-1 man where they just have everybody covered in the backfield, and they're just waiting for Mahomes to throw the ball. And
they're either waiting for him to throw the ball, or they're waiting for him to rush it. And that's the entire point of the quarterback spy, is so you have one guy that's watching the quarterback just in case, 1, he can't find a passer and he starts running it, or two, he takes too long in the pocket, he decides to stay there, and then you hit him hard.
Yeah, and they have an incredible way to go about it. But oh my God! And the drive before Cincinnati gets the ball, the drive that my bad. I'm thinking of the wrong play. The drive where they're doing the field goal, and they're attempting to, like, it's a third down, it's 3rd and 3. People are questioning Andy Reid's calls, like, why didn't he go for it? Patrick Mahomes got sacked. He got sacked in the 3rd down. Like, he got sacked by, like, there's no ifs, ands about it. He got sacked in the backfield. He got sacked by a lot. It was either Rossi or Hubbard. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but they got 2 key sacks on Mahomes, and they both came in the 4th quarter. I mean, people are like, why not go for it? It's Patrick Mahomes at 4th and 5th. They just tried to make a play against them in Cincinnati, shut him down. They got him down, they got a sack. So I don't blame them for kicking the ball with Harrison Butker, who has an incredible leg for a kicker. Like, I'd say he's top 2, and he's behind Justin Tucker, because no one's better than Tucker, in our opinion. So he's got a
Tucker's an entirely different conversation, but he's definitely up there with him for sure.
Yeah. So my point is that, like, don't get mad at Andy Reid for making that decision, because they just shut him down and he played it safe. Like, you tie the game. Go, like, at the very most. And we have to talk about this, man. This just shows. I could talk about Joe Burrow's touchdown run. I could talk about his consistency passing the ball. But this just shows who Joe Burrow is. The Cincinnati Bengals forced the Kansas City Chiefs to call all of their timeouts. He gets sacked. It's the only sack of the game. He gets sacked on 2nd down. It makes it a 3rd and 11. Now, most teams, you want to run the clock, so you run a draw play, we run a screen play, or what have you. But what does Joe Burrow do? He drops back. Guy coming on his right side, and he flings that football into a tight space where T. Higgins makes the catch of the game and ends it. Ends the game because they can just take a kneel down and it's over. That just shows to me what Joe Burrow is that not only clutch, but forgets what the last play was. He goes from having a sack to making the play of the game, the clutch play of the game to win it. Unbelievable. And one of my final things I want to say is that this game is showing me that if the seeding shows up right, I don't think it's going to be Buffalo, Kansas City. It might be Buffalo, Cincinnati, and the AFC Championship. That's just my thought on it. I might be overexcited, but that's what I see, because those 2 teams have beat those Kansas City Chiefs and showed their weaknesses as far as what they are. And I'll let you talk, man. I've talked enough. I mean, this was the segment that I was most excited for. Yeah, you go, dude.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, Ricardo, I don't really have much more to add to that. That was great. No, and I'm being 100% authentic here. Just the Bengals are definitely a contender up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's looking like they're going to make a pretty deep playoff run, right? And we couldn't have said that week 2 or week 3, especially with the Bengals. We thought that they were experiencing a Super Bowl runner-up hangover, right? Because the Rams certainly are, right? And we're not even talking about the Rams this week. The Rams certainly are experiencing that right now, unfortunately. But the Cincinnati Bengals, at this point in time, not only have they won their 3rd straight game against contenders, Super Bowl contenders, they have also come back from a rough start, right? They could have allowed the entirety of the season to look the way that they did the first 3 weeks of the season.
Oh yeah,
they could have
just mail it in.
Exactly.
Lamar Chase is gone. The season's over. Exactly,
and that's exactly what I was getting to. Their second opportunity to just completely throw the season away is when Jamar Chase was out with the hairline hip fracture, right? But they didn't allow that because they knew themselves that they were better than that, and they have continued to play better than that. So as far as the Cincinnati Bengals' future goes this season, they'll be top and they'll make a pretty deep playoff run. Whether or not they will make the AFC Championship is all dependent on how Kansas City shows up. And that is my position. Is if Kansas City shows up as the team that they have been the past couple of years with their defense intact the way that they have been, they're going to be the ones that are going to make the the American Football Conference championship run. But however, if they play the way that they did this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are on the rise right now, it's going to be looking like a different pair in the championship, or in the conference championship. So it's very exciting to be talking about this, Ricardo, because at this point, we know that the Bills are going to make it. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of seeding, right? And who's going to be playing who, right? It's a matter of seeding, and it is a matter of who's going to be showing up throughout that postseason run.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And just it all boils down to what everybody talked about, what the Cincinnati Bengals should have fixed last season. And instead of ownership just being like, yeah, but we got Joe Burrow, we got just Jamar Chase, like, we just made the Super Bowl, we're going to sell tickets, it doesn't matter what we do, like, we'll be fine, it doesn't matter. Because the owner's a cheapskate, mind you. We haven't forgotten about that. No indoor practice training facility for that Cincinnati Bengals defense, ridiculous in Ohio. But anyways, my point is that they fixed their issues. They fixed the main issue that was stopping them from being more consistent. They changed, Jose, people don't understand this. They changed their narrative of being a Cinderella team just had a good year to try to be a playoff contender year after year, because they know what their money is. It's that quarterback, and they have to protect that quarterback with some maulers on the offensive line, and they have to run the ball, and that's what we're seeing. That is exactly what we're seeing. You mark my words, Jose. You mark my words here. If they make it to the AFC Championship game, if they make it and they win, they're going to look back at this game and be like, this is when Cincinnati was starting to come together and go on their hot streak, yada, yada, yada. You mark my words. If they make that AFC Championship game and it's close, they're going to look back on this game. I'm not, because I saw the potential in the Miami game, in that Thursday night game, when I saw, like, oh, I see some aggressiveness in the O-line. They're running the ball more.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, and like you said, it's just going to come down to those final playoff spots, and oh God, I love the NFL.
That's a perfect way to end this episode. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Follow our Instagram at RJTalks_11 for all the updates on our episode uploads. Thank you again, and we will see you next week.
See you guys.